Hey, it's Phil from SmilingGardener.com, and we're talking about biointensive gardening in this series of lessons. Last time I was talking about planting and how to plant a diverse group of plants together, a little bit about companion planting and crop rotation, and today I want to get more into where to get those plants. And in biointensive gardening, they put a lot of focus on getting seeds, and especially open-pollinated seeds. So I wanted to talk about that today. So open-pollinated seeds are seeds that will be pollinated by the wind, and I apologize right now if there's any wind noise because it's getting a little windy this afternoon, but they'll be pollinated by wind or insects or birds, other animals in nature. And that's going to mean that they're going to come true to form. So every year the same plant will come up, and there's going to be a lot of diversity in the genetics of those plants, which is good overall. In contrast, you have hybridized plants, which are plants that have been cross-pollinated by human intervention, and often that can be really useful because we can create traits in plants that give us more yield or are less susceptible to pests. But the issue there is that while that can really happen in the first year, in subsequent years, those seeds are going to go back to being whatever one of their parents was like. So they're not going to come true to the benefits of the hybridization. And not only that, but they'll get less vigorous over time. Now this is different than genetic modification, which is a totally different animal, which I'll save for another time. Hybridization can have some benefits in the short term, but in the long term it's not the best thing. And also, because those seeds don't come true the following years, you can't keep saving them and using them, so it requires you to spend more money and to be relying on other producers. If we want to be more sustainable, we want to be able to save our own seed every year. So that's when you want to buy open-pollinated seeds. If you get heirloom seeds, those are going to be open-pollinated. And yeah, it's just, that's what you're looking for. Open-pollinated seeds. You might use the occasional hybrid, but generally open-pollinated is great. Now, some seeds are going to cross, even open-pollinated ones are going to cross in such a way that it might cause some issues. Like if you were to grow several types of the same species of squash together, they could cross-pollinate and you end up getting some very strange, not particularly nice tasting squash in subsequent years. So the way to deal with that is to just grow one species of squash each year. Or if all of your neighbors are growing squash, that's going to be the case when you might have to buy every year just to make sure you're getting true seed. But again, it still makes sense to go for open-pollinated seed. Now, the main reason that I am really into this is because I'm really interested in growing highly nutrient-dense food. And if that is an interest of yours, you definitely want to be getting into not only starting with open-pollinated seed, but saving your seed every year. Because what you can do then is just make sure you're always saving seed from the healthiest, most vigorous plants. And every year those seeds are going to, and those plants are going to be healthier and healthier and healthier. And really, I think it's quite difficult to grow highly nutritious high-brix food without having done this seed saving for a few years where the seeds are getting more and more accustomed to your environment there. So it's not that difficult to do. I teach it in the full academy in month 10, I think, in the food growing months. And there's not that much seed saving going on this time of year. I don't know if you can see on camera these beautiful rhubarb seeds. Sometimes it's as simple as just picking the seeds and harvesting them and letting them dry out and then saving them. Sometimes there's a little more work to it, but it's worth learning how to do. The second part of that is also a growing biointensive method. Here's a rhubarb seed, by the way. They're very gorgeous flowers. You can see them in the background behind me there. The second part of that is starting your own plants from seed indoors. Now, I do some of this. I also think it's a great idea to sow seeds directly into the soil because there's not going to be that transplant shock. And it's just easier to just seed them once and then let them come up. But especially if you're growing biointensively and you're growing in a small space and you want to make the most use of that space, it makes sense to start your seeds in the winter inside, and then you can plant them out earlier. You can, in some cases, harvest them earlier. And of course, we talked about how you can save a lot of money. If instead of going and buying all of your tomatoes and peppers from a grower, you can save a lot of money starting your own seed. And then there is the fact that if you're growing in a small area, every time you pull something out of that area, if you have something else to put in there, you can get a much greater harvest throughout the growing season. So I'm shooting this whole series of videos on June 21st, the longest day of the year, and I'm sharing them with you over the summer. So I don't know if you're going to be watching this video in August or September. Generally not the time of year when people think about starting seeds. It's coming to be the time of year when you're thinking about saving seeds. But in Grow Biointensive, they'll be starting seeds all throughout the year, so there's always something to put back into a place whenever you harvest something. I think that's all I wanted to say about those two things. So really great thing. Oh yeah, if you are in the academy, we get into starting your own seeds in month. I get confused about my months now that I have Academy and Academy Light, but in the full Academy, I believe it's month 8, and in Academy Light, I teach you how to start your own seeds in month 5. And for everyone else down below, I'll link to a video I had produced last year, I believe, about how to start your own seeds. Maybe some of you have seen it before, but I'll link to that down below. And then in the comments there, you can ask me any questions you have about any of this stuff. And the sun has come out, and I'm going to get back in my garden now and put some mulch down. So that's all for now.